Hello there, Chris is here. I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful day. The subject for our video today is a very, very interesting question and a very important one because we see it in many different groups of people. You'll know what I mean. So the question is, how do I transfer over stage tango to actually social Argentine tango? So one of my readers and friends, I like to call you all friends, sent me this question that he or she has been taught basically stage tango, and when they went out to the milonga, they realized that, oh, this is completely different. Why I'm saying that this is something that many people face. First of all, there are in some places that we have big groups of people being taught by stage tango dancers. That's how some communities actually started. So you'll see that in quite a few groups of people. Then secondly, there are other groups that have the same problem, that have been taught maybe ballroom tango. So I know, I know I said the bad word, ballroom tango. So it is completely different, but at the same time, it has some similarities. So it is, and basically the trouble becomes more apparent when you start to dance and the music is slightly different, the tempo is slightly different, the embrace is slightly different, but there are other things that are slightly similar, and you're like, oh my God, here we go again. So that is also some trouble. And then there are other groups of people who might be facing different kind of trouble under the same category. So what do I mean by this is other people who've done other types of partner dancing, such as salsa. So they are aware of the connection that you need to establish with your partner, but it is a very, very different approach, and a very different, the expectations are different between leader and follower, and the lead is different, the embrace is completely different, and even though they know it's completely different, if they've done it for a long time, it will be very difficult for them to transition from a specific salsa embrace to a tango embrace, and a specific mindset that they have dancing salsa. Or we have people who haven't done any partner dancing, but they have done a lot of other type of dancing, such as myself with ballet. So especially very technical dances like ballet can actually be sort of a limitation, even though people think, oh, she's a ballet dancer, she's got the balance, and she's got posture, and she's got this, and she's got that. But what people do not know, people who haven't danced ballet, is that ballet requires a very specific body position, and in order to get to that specific body position, to create that specific body position, and to be able to move and lose it and find it and recreate it, and so on and so forth, you need specific skills. Those skills can only be useful if you, first of all, realize them and use them to create the very, very different tango positions. So your body looks completely different when you're dancing ballet and when you're dancing tango. The only way that ballet can help with learning tango is, technically speaking, because of course you have the musicality and all these other things. So technically speaking, and in terms of movement, the only way that it can help is if you take a moment or many moments to think, what tools did I use to create the movements, the body positions in ballet. Okay, I used XYZ. All right. Let's see if I use XYZ to now get to Tango, which is a completely different body position. How is that going to feel? Let me give you an example. And I'm choosing ballet because it's very, very technical, and then we'll get to the other dances that are very similar to Tango but might not be as strictly technical as ballet, or they're technical in a very different way. So in ballet, you have, if you see ballerinas, they're very straight, they're very upright. So in order to do that, you need to bring your hips in a different position, and you'll see that their toes are facing out. So in order to do that, again, you need to open up the hips and drop the pelvis slightly back. So you're forward and slightly back with the pelvis, and that changes the way that your thorax is sitting right over your hips, and that changes how you align your feet to support that position. So in Tango, though, our hips are not forward or falling down. Falling down is a really bad way of saying it. Melting down towards the floor. Our hips are in a more neutral, let's put it that way, position, and slightly back. So in a more walking, everyday type of walk position instead of upright position. So if I say, oh my God, this is a completely different posture, and I can't, oh dear, now I have to erase everything I know from ballet and find a new posture in Tango, which is exactly what I did, and I struggled for many, many years because of that. You're going to struggle for many, many years because of that. If, though, you say, all right, this is a completely different posture. Why is it different? Because it looks like this. X, Y, Z, what we said. Our hips in a specific position, our upper body relative to the hips, our head is positioned, and so on and so forth. So you find the differences. Then you go and you create that posture, trying to become as aware as possible of how your body moves from your everyday posture to your ballet posture. And you will notice that it's a spinal movement, and you'll start connecting the dots, how your two balls, your thoracic ball and your pelvic ball, how they're moving together. And then you'll realize that the movement of your hips around your legs is creating a specific open toe spot, and then you'll notice the reverse as well, how the opening of the toes is trickling up to your knees and up to your hips, and there you go. So all this tracking, you can then take it, this feeling, this awareness, you can use it to say, all right, what if I use that same awareness of coordination of hips and thorax, of coordination of hips and legs, of legs and hips, of feet and knees, of arms and torso, of head and neck and torso, and so on and so forth. What if that coordination, I use it to create a different posture? So it will take time, but you will be a double winner, because you will be more aware of how your body likes to move. So your posture not only will be stronger, but it will also be more effortless, because you will be more aware. You won't need to bring in muscle to keep it together. You'll be there because you've taken the time to figure out the pattern, the map that you need to follow. And having done ballet can help you. Now, let's see. having done stage tango or ballroom tango, again, they can help you in in a similar way with posture and technical details. You would need, again, to sit down and say, what does my posture look like? It looks like X, Y, Z. Ballroom is a little bit different. Stage tango, not so different, thank God. So it looks like X, Y, Z. How did I get there? Go through it many, many times. Don't avoid it. Don't erase it. There are some things, some good details there that you need. So go in there, write them down. Usually it helps. Maybe take a video of it. That also might help. So become aware of these details, and then become aware of the path that you follow, that your body follows, that your bone structure follows to get there. And then say, all right, great, this is the path, and these are the tools that I used. Excellent. Now, using these same tools, and again, it's going to be some sort of coordination between your thorax and your hips, between your tail and the top of your neck, so your whole spine, and between your legs, from your ankles into your knees and into your hips. And of course, where your head stands relative to the rest of the body. So you find these are your tools. You understand and become aware of the path that you have been using to get into the posture of the dance that you're coming from. And then you need to trace the path that you need to get into your tango posture. And because I'm guessing that this question is not necessarily about the technical aspect, but more about the sequencing and the connection and the embrace and the improvisational part the social tango has. So here are some things that you would need to do differently. And this also applies to ballroom tango, because I know that there are more set sequences, more building blocks, more clear building blocks that you use. So one thing that you have already, and anyone who has dealt with choreography has already. So you have the capability to remember sequences, to put sequences as blocks in your mind, because that's how you were taught. Whatever dance you did, maybe you were doing a lot of choreography in ballet or ballroom or tango stage tango. So that is something that is very important. Now the next step you will need to take is, all right, I know these sequences and I know them very well. Let's see, how were these sequences really created? And that is going to take a little bit of time. So take one sequence at a time. Let's say, just for the sake of it, something very, very simplistic. So let's say our basic step, that 8-count box step that we have, or cross step as they call it. Break it down. What do we have in this sequence? We have a bunch of steps and a cross. So you take it down and you say, all right, if I wanted to just lead side, back, and forward steps, how would I go about doing that? The most difficult part, of course, would be the transition between the different directions. So you start with that. You start breaking the sequence down to its fundamental pieces, because you know the sequence already. So you start breaking it down so it starts making sense, not in your mind, but more in your body, of how this movement was created. And you need to fight yourself, and that's the most difficult part. You need to fight yourself against just doing it. So you break it down and you say, all right, I'm going to start with fully leading 100% my side steps, transitioning into forward steps. That's the first transition. You go side, forward. Great. You do this many, many times. Then you'll have to transition between leading a straight forward step and leading a cross. So that's your second transition. You start, you go into your forward steps. You need to find the path to take you into the cross, to take your partner into the cross step. It will take a couple of times. The person who's going to be following you, ask them to please, please, please do not help you. Don't help me. If you don't feel a cross, don't do it. Just keep on going. Okay? So, and then you'll have to transition from a cross step again into forward steps, and then from forward steps into a side step. So that was just a very simplistic explanation, but that's how you go about doing it. You take the big chunk, the big block sequence that you have, you break it down to really, really fundamental elements, and then you work on these elements one by one with your partner, how to lead one element at a time, and then the transition between that element 1, element 2, element 2, element 3, etc., etc. So the good thing, the bonus that you have, is that you know a lot of sequences. So you don't want to throw all that in the garbage. No, why would you do that? It's great. It's a great advantage to have. You know them. You just need to break them down and understand them in your body, how it works, how it all connects. Why did this person put these steps together in this way? Try to feel that connection. It makes sense in your mind. You need to make sure that it makes sense in your body. The other great thing that I realized that ballroom dancers and stage dancers have compared to social dancers, and this is something that you will find in the interview that I did with Jason Jiang, who was also a ballroom dancer, is that you work and you learn in a very methodical way. We do this thing now, and then we'll do this. Oh, this is not working. Why isn't this working? This isn't working because in block 2 you made a mistake right back here. So you can go straight back there, fix it, and go back to your block 1. So this is great. This is absolutely great. And as Jason was telling me, there are, like in ballroom dancing, there are manuals, and you need to know exactly what the new regulations are going to be, especially if you want to go into these championships. You need to go by the book. So what happens is, if you want to practice and if you actually want to get good, you have a reference and you're saying, oh, what happened here? Why is this wrong? This is wrong because yesterday I was working on this thing, and I didn't quite get it right. So you have it all there. It's great. It's very strategic, very methodical. Not something that you want to do on a social environment, but something that you want to do in your practice, and you already have experience of this. Stage tango works in the same way. You can't create stage tango, you can't create choreography out of just do whatever. You can't. It's impossible. It works in blocks. So if you screw up one block, the next block is going to be awful, and the next block is going to be even worse. So you have to go to that first block and fix it. Great. It's perfect. Instead of throwing it all the way in the garbage, use the experience and the actual method to create the base for your practice. So when you're going to be practicing, take notes. There is no manual in social tango, but you can create your own. Make a little note or make a little video of yourself. Keep it down. Say, all right, what was my focus today? Ochos. Okay. I did ochos. And what did I do? I did XYZ. Excellent. And I worked on this in this way, and on that way. And this thing worked and this didn't. And this made me feel excellent, very flowy. And this other thing doesn't work because I feel I'm always falling off balance. I'm coming up with things. But you keep a diary of it. The next day when you go and you do your practice again, you're like, one second, what happened yesterday? Plan it and base one practice block on the previous practice block. So this is something that people who have done a lot of choreography, or who have done stage dances, or who have done ballroom dancing, or dancing that is or dance that takes them to championships, they have it already. Maybe the organization has the manual and they give it to them, or they are required to create a manual, either written or in videos or even in your head. You learn how to do that. So this is an excellent skill. So let's recap. Number one, the differences in technique. How do you attack that? You become aware of what your technique looks like in the dance that you have been doing. You become aware of the tools that you used. You become aware of the path that you followed. And then you use the same tools to create the new map for your new dance, which is social tango. Then use use the things that you have already won, meaning sequences, number one, and systems, which is number two. So the system, you use it in order to build not your dancing, but your practice. So one block of practice builds on the next, on the next, on the next, and so on and so forth. So it makes perfect sense. When you make a mistake, you can always look back. And then, and then sequencing, you already know sequences, which is great. It's something that many other people struggle. How do you work on them though, now that you are required to dance with people who have no idea what you want to do? You take those sequences apart into their fundamental elements, into what has created them, and step by step you lead them. So they make sense in your mind. Now they need to make sense in your body, and most importantly, they need to make sense to the person that is your partner. So for your partners, ask them to please do not help you. So do the work. It is more mental work than physical work. After you've broken down all the parts, you'll see it is a lot easier. That is the tough part. That is at the beginning, but it will give you a great breakthrough. So if you have any questions, you know where to find me. I'm only one email away, and I love talking about things like that. So do not hesitate to send me an email if this video brought any questions up. So I would like to hear from you. Krissa.assis@bouthans.com if you have any questions on this. And, December 11th is coming, so it's your chance. I can give you specific pointers on your technique, on your connection, on your sequencing, if I see you on video. So, talk to you soon.